With the hype that's been going around with Devil May Cry 5, as well as the controversy, mainly the Dante looks old and Dante's theme is awful, come to think of it, most of it is tied to Dante. I figured it was time I played through the best game in the series. I actually reviewed Devil May Cry 3 before a few years ago, but looking back at it, I hate it. The review I mean, not the game. The game is phenomenal. I played this from the recently re-released Devil May Cry HD collection that finally came out on PC. Now I won't have to buy the next re-release on the PS5 or the Xbox 2 or whatever.
This invitation for you. Please accept it.
In my original review, I said that the story was Virgil, Dante's brother, wants to unleash demons because he just wants to. Wow. Well, on the surface it kind of is, right? But not completely. Virgil wants to obtain absolute power by retrieving Force Edge, which is his father's sword. Once he has it, he can have the power of Sparda. Dante goes on a quest in order to stop Virgil, not from achieving the power of Sparda, but because he has a grudge against his brother, which shows in scenes where the two meet before a fight. But Dante's motive changes over the course of time, or more importantly, the more times he interacts with Lady. Lady is a very special character. Female characters aren't a new thing to the Devil May Cry series, but they seem to always lack something. In DMC 1, Trish shows herself as a strong character who doesn't need anyone's help to get to places, which is explained later in the game, but near the end, she just turns into a damsel in distress, which is where we get Dante's famous line.
Been the one to fill your dark soul with light.
In DMC 2, we get introduced to Lucia, who quite frankly was the main focus of the game. Dante had no reason to help her, really, aside from the fact that it was another job. But we finished the game with a very unsatisfying character because Lucia has no character aside from someone who's trying to figure out who they are. Lady already knows who she is. She's determined to right a wrong caused by her father and is very capable of killing demons. No idea how, seeing as she's literally a schoolgirl, but hey, it's Devil May Cry. Ask too many questions and you'll get a heavy case of "my brain won't work no more." We also have Virgil, who is by far one of Capcom's best antagonists, and he's not really an antagonist, he's just after more power, but the way he goes about it, that's kind of where people get the idea that he's a bad guy. Virgil is also the game's way of giving you a hurdle to overcome. Seeing as he's Dante's twin, he can't be too different from him, right? Wrong. He's very different in both personality and fighting style. Everything he does is calculated, and the only thing that makes you think he's Dante's twin is when he lets his hair down. I just realized I haven't been talking about the story, I've just been talking about the characters. So to put it short, Devil May Cry 3 follows the hero's journey structure very tightly. It doesn't look like it because of the dialogue, but it is a hero's journey. We have Dante, who is the hero. He gets given the call, but he refuses at first until he is forced to do so, which is when his shop is raided, and the Temple Deglore raises from the middle of the city. Every arc finishes with the battle against Virgil, and Dante grows as a character rather than just in power. Devil May Cry 3 falls into the category of a character action game, which is a term a friend of mine absolutely hates. It's a good way to describe it, but I'd also add fast-paced and spectacle to the mix. You have your third person with a fixed camera perspective, which doesn't get in the way of combat, but where platforming is concerned, it doesn't help. The number of times I've fallen off something because I haven't been able to see properly is just ridiculous. Dante has his Trusted Rebellion to start off with, which gives you a generous amount of combos to perform with his guns Ebony and Ivory. DMC 3 also gives the widest range of weapons in any Devil May Cry game, as well as being able to switch between any of the devil arms and guns you have equipped whenever you want to. Devil arms are obtained from the major bosses you go up against, the first being Cerberus, who wrecks new players because of the difficulty spike between him and the mini-boss you go up against in the mission before his. You can play the whole game with just using the weapons you start off with, but where's the fun in that? Plus, wouldn't you want to look stylish while killing hordes of demons? I know I did, only to have my style taken away from me because of some jackass that crept up from behind. You also have different styles Dante can use: Trickster, Swordmaster, Gunslinger, and Royal Guard, with another two unlocked later in the game. I played the whole game in Swordmaster because I just wanted more combos to perform. It's an aggressive style, as is Gunslinger, only Gunslinger gives you more control over the area. Trickster is the default style you use unless you change it before the start of the mission, and it's the most noob friendly. Royal Guard is in my opinion the one to use, but has a high difficulty curve due to the fact you have to time everything properly. Do it too early or too late and you're still taking the damage you would have otherwise avoided. Each have their own strengths and weaknesses, but you can just parry certain attacks, which Swordmaster offers more than the rest. There are also different abilities you can learn for each weapon at a statue or the start of a mission, such as the iconic Stinger for Rebellion and Air Hike. Some can be upgraded to a second or third rank, and some are just a one-time purchase. However, something like Air Hike, which you'd think is an ability for Dante, is actually attached to Rebellion. So if you want to be able to double jump freely, you'd have to use Rebellion, Beowulf, and Agni and Rudra. You can also purchase items at the statues, some which are permanent upgrades to Dante's overall health or double trigger gauge. The game will point out at the end of every mission if you use the consumable. Using them will punish your overall rank. People have complaints stating it shouldn't punish you if it's in the game, but it's in the game for the casual players. If you look at it like this, if you see a bad rank, it makes you want to be better in the next one, or you redo that mission to get a better rank and feel good about it. The style meter is a stroke of genius. It's also very simple. Show the player they're doing well in the middle of combat with a bar that fills from D to triple S. Getting that triple S rank gives you that high you get when you get your first sip of Sunny D, but that high can only last so long before it goes away. However, you know it's your fault when it goes down, either from attacks not chaining quick enough or you getting hit. And once you see that triple S go all the way down to a B, you literally feel like shit. This is more evident in boss fights. It's easy to get a triple S rank when you're going against a room full of enemies because you'll likely hit multiple targets with a single swing, increasing the bar. But against bosses, which are primarily a 1v1, it's harder and your skill is tested each time, as well as your ability to react to certain cues. The early bosses have very obvious attacks, but later bosses, mainly Virgil, you have to learn quickly, otherwise they'll decimate you. Finally, the secret missions. These are also skill checks, and the rewards are good to start off with. You get rewarded with blue orb fragments, which at the start when you're saving your red orbs for abilities, it's a cheap and fun way of boosting Dante's health. But once you have the abilities you want, you'll only be doing the secret missions for the sake of testing your skill, and to be honest, that's actually enough. Unlike the reboot, DMC3 has you going back to older missions because some secret missions are impossible to do without acquiring certain weapons. There aren't that many issues in the game, thankfully. This is a re-release of a remaster after all. However, the fixed camera angle can get really annoying in the sections where you have to do some platforming, and some of the puzzles, while they're basic, you don't expect them in a game that falls into this category. Sometimes I found myself lost and clueless in what to do next. Thankfully, they're few and far between from each other. For the PC version, I have one complaint, and again I've said this before in my recent reviews. Please let us use the mouse. When I looked at the key bindings, there weren't any bindings for the mouse by default. You can't even bind anything to the mouse, really. Yes, the optimal way is with a controller, but developers really need to think, what if these people don't have a controller? Other than that, the game ran smoothly. This was a review focused on DMC3 from the HD collection, but this alone is enough for you to buy it. Plus, you get DMC1, which is an amazing game and where you get that famous line,
Been the one to fill your dark soul with light.
and DMC2, which might turn people away from it, but hey, you can't have the perfect game or collection, I guess. If you enjoyed my review and would like to see more in the future, hit the subscribe button. Also, like and comment, I'm always open to feedback on my reviews. You can also follow me on social media, links in the description down below.
Jackpot.